and I look to my right, and the first people I see are Gordon Murray talking to Gordon Ramsay. I was like, okay, that's how this evening is.
Today on That Car Show, we welcome our friends Tom Fathi and Will Melfi of Northwest Exotics. You know the show. Northwest Exotics has become one of the top events of its kind in the country, and it was all started by a 15-year-old. Tom's a few years older now, and he's learned a lot in that short time. And truthfully, there's a lot to learn from this conversation. From filler cars and letting people down gently, to learning to love conflict and asking for what you want, this is a really insightful conversation and a real template to running a successful automotive enthusiast event. Also, that Gordon and that one too, it's Tom Fathi and Will Melfi from Northwest Exotics, and it's That Car Show.
Tonight, we are joined by some of our car friends from the Pacific Northwest for a change. Tom Fathi of Northwest Exotics and Will Melfi of One Drivers Club. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us. Very excited to be here. Yes, same.
So Tom started Northwest Exotics when he was just 15, and it's now in its sixth year. It takes place on the shores of Lake Washington at Carillon Point, which is an absolutely beautiful venue. Northwest Exotics presents a curated display of exceptional vehicles. Last year there was a Senna, just in case there's any doubt of the level of caliber of the cars. They're fantastic. The vehicles span pre-war classics to modern hypercars. Each car is intentionally selected to highlight an important aspect of automotive design, engineering, and history. The event attracts both collectors and enthusiasts from across the region and beyond, offering a rare opportunity to experience the world's most notable automobiles in the Pacific Northwest. And it is a lovely event. So congratulations on year 6. Will Melfi is currently the general manager of One Drivers Club, which is a beautiful car storage and social club in Redmond, Washington. Will comes from a car enthusiast background on the East Coast, and we met when we were both working for Haggerty. Will was managing the garage and social, and I would work there frequently. So definitely we got to be coworkers at the time, and I'm lucky to consider him a friend now. And Will is definitely the heartbeat of One Drivers Club. And Will and Tom have teamed up for something that they're going to share about tonight. So welcome, guys. We're so happy you're here.
Like I said, great to be here. Great to be here with Will. Thank you, guys. I know we're fitting it in on a Monday. Like I said, I just came from a video shoot, so that's why this is on me. I'm not always just repping my brand, but here we are.
Nothing wrong with that, though. So, Will, if you can share a little bit about your kind of career path and background, before you landed in Redmond, and then Tom, we'll hear about your background, and then we can sort of jump into the events.
Yes, absolutely.
Sounds good. I'll go first, Tom, I guess. I am from New York City, Rockaway Beach, which is like the southernmost tip of New York City, made famous by the Ramones. And kind of grew up in that era where cars were a big deal, hip hop in the 90s and 2000s, and, big wheels and things of that nature. And so after college, just wanted to get into the scene, and I started working at I guess it's like the equivalent of Car Toys here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know what that would be in California, but kind of a 12-volt shop. You're doing stereos and alarms, and things of that nature. And that's where I got my start. A couple of years later, started my own place, my own shop called The Custom Shop in New York City. Shout out to those guys. They are still around and doing very, very well. Did that for a number of years before getting into online auctions with the P-Car Market and doing some private collection management on the North Shore of Long Island, which if you know, is home to some of the best car collections in the world. And found my way out here to Seattle. Was lucky enough to get that job, like Lindsay said, through Haggerty, where we became friends. And very lucky I get to take care of some of the best cars in the area. I've met some incredible people through the club. It's just been an overall great experience.
So Tom, obviously you've been doing this for 6 years now, but you started at a young enough age that there might not be a tremendous work history, as it were. But sort of tell us your background in terms of like getting into cars, and then, how did you ultimately decide to start your own Cars and Coffee?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was, one of the quintessential stories, but I did not come from a car family. That's like the one distinction. I just loved Hot Wheels, and it's now a joke, but I had so many Hot Wheels when I was a kid that whenever I went to Fred Meyer, I would try to sneakily somehow buy with my few shillings I would have Hot Wheels without my mom knowing. So she didn't know that I was
Because she
getting
had
more.
declared like critical mass of the Hot
Oh
Wheels at
yeah.
that point.
Oh yeah. And now it's like quadruple, like my room, it's bed. It's down onto the floor still. Like I have 2,000 Hot Wheels in my room. Either way. So it
I did
started.
not know that, Tom. I've known you for some time. This is the first time I'm hearing about this. Just
You
FYI.
should see it. It's bad, but I love it.
You owe me a picture.
Yeah.
Stick with us, Will. You're going to learn all the secrets.
There you go.
So that's where it started. And then of course, mixed in with that was the Top Gear guys and watching that on YouTube. And then I got to, like sixth grade, so age 11, 12, and got Instagram. And then I started to see these photos of really cool cars. And I was like, oh my God, like no way that exists.
Yeah.
And then I started to just try to take cool photos of cars, but it was with an iPod Touch, which is like a microwave. And and then when I got to eighth grade, so like age 14, my mom gifted me a camera of hers. I started to go to like the Redmond Town Center car show and take photos. Still didn't know what I was doing. And then freshman year of high school, when I just turned 15, I was just starting to take more and more photos of cars, was becoming so much more enthralled with them, and had this idea one night laying in bed. I was like, I want to start a car show. Don't know where that came from. Went down the next morning to my parents at breakfast and I said, I want to start a car show. And they said, well, that's cool. How the hell are you going to do that? Because again, it's not like they were connected to anyone with cars or anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, but I guess I'll figure it out. And through so many people taking such major leaps on me, from 2 months into high school until now, it's become kind of one of the big things in the Pacific Northwest. And then hopefully, especially after 3 weeks from now with our upcoming event. So that's like the spark notes. I currently attend college in California, in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount. I study business entrepreneurship. And so that has kind of gone hand in hand with realizing like how you can grow things and how you run a business and different things like that. And so I'm going into my senior year of college as well, down there in 4 weeks. So I get to do the car shows, my full-time job. I take car photography on the side for extra cash, and I get to be in school, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So where do you start?
Dream,
I mean,
right?
Yeah. How do you find a place? How do you start getting people to come? And does it start with one car? I mean, take us back to the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll try to keep it brief here because I could draw it out, but I've gotten pretty good at keeping it short. Like I said, I just had this idea and knew no one. And so I had been to one car show at Caroline Point, which is this beautiful place, as Lindsay mentioned, right on the water in Kirkland, Washington. And they did a Porsche show there. And I was like, like that's the place for a car show. And so I went to their little message request box on their website, and I would send a message again, and I didn't hear back. And this is why moms are awesome. My mom, after like 2 months of me trying that, called them and was like, hey, my son is trying to reach you guys. Can you just respond to him? And this gentleman responded to me and said, hey, we'll take a meeting with you. And so 2 months into my freshman year of high school, went in there, like their boardroom, mahogany table, leatherback chairs, the whole thing. My mom helped me make like an agenda. But I, led the meeting and just kind of explained my vision. And they were like, okay, so are these going to be like your friends' cars? And I said, no. These are cool cars.
For reference, I'm 15.
Yeah. And she said, okay, I don't see why not. That was the profit manager at the time at Caroline Point.
Wow.
And looking back now, I mean, I'm only 21 now, but I would not even say yes to a 15-year-old. Like 15 is so young.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. Right? So I have no idea. And it's not like I had a history either. Like I didn't have any work experience. I had nothing, but she said yes. And so from there, that was in October of 2019. 2020 was coming around, car season picks up here around March. And then we know what happened on March 11th of 2020. And that was the biggest blessing in disguise. Like I think we would probably not be here if COVID hadn't happened because I didn't know anyone, as I mentioned. But I thought I could do it. Over COVID, we couldn't have our first show, but I started to get to know like just enough people. That by the time we exited COVID, and like we were talking about, it all started with just DMing people on Instagram. And there was this guy, who our logo is a Carrera GT. It's on the back of the shirt along with Northwest Exotics. And I was always enthralled with that car. And I found a guy on Instagram 2 days before this promo shoot we were doing in the middle of COVID. Like we could not do a show, but we thought we'd do a photo shoot. And he had a Courier GT seemingly, and was seemingly in the Seattle area. And I was like, hey man, I don't know you, you don't know me, but we're doing this photo shoot. Would you want to come? And he said, sounds fun. And because I think like his involvement and a few other people's involvement at the beginning, by the time we then had the first show, we had a Courier GT there, which in Seattle, like kind of a big deal. Yeah. And it was very much so a local Cars and Coffee at that point with maybe 80 people. And then we can get into it more, but now it's gone far beyond that. So our first show was in June of 2021, and now it's August of 2026.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's our 6th season.
Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Was it that CGT that, really, you knew you had something?
It was that, and then a different buddy who, again, there's some serendipity things that are just crazy to happen. My dad got a new job right at that exact time in 2021, right before our first show. And one of his new coworkers' husbands is one of the biggest car collectors in Seattle. Can't make it up.
Yeah.
And that just happened. And he owns the fully exposed carbon fiber Ford GT, which at the time was brand new to the area. And so it was the Ford GT and that Courier GT next to each other. And at that point, everyone had been so deprived of cars because of COVID.
Sure.
What I say was like just enough people and just enough cool cars to like be somewhat legitimate. And then you know how you build something. It's just brick by brick. And it's been brick by brick for 6 years now. And I pinch myself every day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's awesome. Well, and so you guys are now working together on something that I'm really excited to hear about. It's a weekend destination event.
Yes.
After Car Week every year. This is the 2nd year.
Yep.
So we would love to hear, like, tell us about the event. Tell us what made you decide to build the event in addition to the show. Like, just tell us the story.
Totally. And this is where Will kind of comes into the story more, because as I mentioned, Will and I met each other about 3 years ago, I think, Will, right?
Right.
And then, just hit it off. Because, you're in the same industry, and then you kind of know a lot of the same people, you know how that goes.
Yep.
Well, also,
and so,
hey, Tom, you were at one point, not anymore, but Tom was a lowly car spotter, guy.
You were a leaper?
Sneak in and out of wherever he could and get photos wherever he could. And, the joke among the industry is that Tom is the, 40-year-old, 21-year-old. And so he absolutely, came in and made a great impression on both myself, a lot of our clients. That's how he has all the connection with these collectors and whatnot, is because he carries himself very well. But, Tom and I instantly clicked. I was really impressed, Tom, with your knowledge of pre-war stuff. Most guys his age are all about Koenigseggs and, Paganis and hypercars and GT3 RSs. And, Tom shows me, well, hey, what about this, Alpha 6C or, the Bentley Blue Train or one of those things. And that's just really incredible, I think, that, he has such knowledge and passion for cars. But I figured I'd throw that in there, Tom, because that's really the foundation of our relationship. And from there, Tom introduced me to people that I can only have thought I would have met in my wildest dreams.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's like I said, it's been crazy how it's all progressed and how quickly, like, where Will manages, and like Will's one of my best friends. All these things now. It used to be like the forbidden place, as I mentioned. But
what do you mean by that? It was just that exclusive?
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
It was originally built for a private families collection. And then, Lindsay, when you and I kind of started to come around there, Haggerty had tried to open it up to a, regional group of people, but what they didn't realize is like the Haggerty clients and the type of clients that we have, they intersect somewhat, but not your average Haggerty client, right? So you're not really having the guy who has a 69 Mustang or a 68 Camaro. He doesn't really need storage. And so they kind of, fumbled that. But in doing what they did is they opened it up to the community. And I think that was one of the best things that happened with the place, is that more people had access. And I love sharing the cars with, those that are respectful. A car person, whether you drive a, Hyundai Elantra or a 250 GTO, we all love cars. So it's kind of a cool thing. And that's another way how me and Tom connected so much, because we wanted to take that that sharing thing to the next level.
Well, I just want to give you a shout out because the facility there is fantastic. I got to see it about a year ago and came around a corner or whatever and saw all what was there. And there was just some amazing, amazing stuff. I mean, really of all eras, just high quality stuff. The place itself is really beautiful. Just has a great vibe. It's a place you want to hang out, which is, I think, a big challenge for places like yours, right? Sometimes you just don't feel that welcome, right? Even if you're renting a spot, right? And your
right.
place has a really nice vibe. So
no, thank you. And I think Lindsay could attest that at one point it wasn't like that. It was kind of cold.
Yeah.
It was like a museum almost in some ways, and you were like afraid to make a sound. But now again, like we have people of all ilks. We have 10-figure clients that have 20 cars, down to a guy who his pride and joy is a 997 Carrera, right? Or something like that. And that's all cool. Like, again, we treat everybody the same and we're just all in it for the love of the game. And I think that's how it also relates to Northwest Exotics, or any of the shows that we're involved in, is just, we want to do it for the culture. Seattle definitely has a lot to show. We have a lot of cars here. We have a lot of collectors here. And I think it's kind of just not really looked at the same as the other West Coast cities, primarily like Los Angeles and even some of the stuff in NorCal. I mean, right, Tom, I think you would agree. We have some pretty heavy hitter collectors and cars up here. Still do, even after some of them have left.
Yeah, it's a really special collector community up here that I kind of say I've grown up in a way.
Yeah.
And I'll speak on it more in a bit, but it's a really special community up here that people obviously don't really know exists on a broad scale. But the people here who make up this community, and Will and I were with some of them today. I met Will hosted at their place. They're some of the biggest names in the industry. We're talking ex-chairmans of Pebble Beach.
Sure.
The gentleman by the name of Glenn Munger. He was chairman of Pebble Beach for about a decade. He started the preservation class, which is now a major thing, right? They had a best of show in 2024 that was a preservation car, which no one ever imagined that would happen, right?
Nope.
All these folks who they're here. Like, this is their place. And getting to know them has been really, really cool. And I feel very lucky that they're also all, a bit older. And so I feel lucky that I'm getting to meet them, be part of their lives.
Well, Tom, at 21, everyone is older.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
I envy your youth.
He was hanging out with a bunch of octogenarians today. So they were a lot older. They were older. I'm almost 40. They're older by my standards. So
okay, right on. Yeah. That's a good way to feel young for sure.
We'll accept that standard.
Yeah. Glenn Munger is a longtime Colorado Grand participant, and that's something that I'm involved with. And I want to come back to that down the road, but we were talking about just getting this thing started. I mean, because there are things that someone like me sitting here just has no idea that goes into the planning or just where do you start? I mean, do you need insurance? How do you vet the cars? People on the Grand, they always ask us, well, why does one car qualify to get in and the other doesn't, right? And I'm speaking about Northwest Exotics now, right? Yeah. So what are your criteria, and how have you handled some of maybe the people that, maybe get a little, a little pissed off when their car isn't welcomed, or all these politics, right? How do you handle it?
I would imagine he's in the middle of it, given his expression right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, it's strange because, as I mentioned, it's not like I started this as a Cars and Coffee and it's still a Cars and Coffee, and where it has not remained the same over the past 6 years.
Right.
And so that's an interesting part that I think there's been adjustment in the community as it started from me trying to get, with a certain standard, anything I could get.
Sure.
Because I wanted to put something together. And then it just naturally grew. How, if people like something, they introduce you to other folks, and then it just grows and grows and grows. And so that was the first 4 years, was kind of a higher end Cars and Coffee. We'd do it 2 to 3 times a year. I would take kind of any exotic or a classic I could get with a certain standard. And then, as I mentioned, I'm in business school right now, and I started to get more and more involved in the world and realize what this could become. And for one, how much I just love it. I mean, it's what I can never stop thinking about. It's what I live and breathe and love so much. So my freshman year of college, my sophomore year of college, I realized I wanted to kind of take the next step, which is making a place a destination, right? in a bigger way than just locally. Because for the most part, cars would come from within 30 minutes. I was like, wow, Seattle doesn't have many shows that are big at a certain caliber of car. And I'm at this kind of inflection point of, it could become something a lot bigger. And I'm lucky to know a lot of folks who have some really cool cars. And then this is where I'm a firm believer in just like throwing the line out there, seeing where it lands, and then just figuring out how to get there. There's, if you could sit here all day long and be like, oh, well, there's a million reasons not to do that, or wait, do this or do that. And I've realized like the beauty of entrepreneurship is just making shit happen. And it's simply that. And there's a million things that go wrong on the way there, and so many things don't go your way. But I'm a firm believer in failing above everyone else's successes. So working so hard and having a vision that's so big, that failure for me is still one of the best. And so last year we got to a point where I wanted to make it more of a weekend of events. And so we added on a private event at a gentleman's collection in an evening. And then the next day we moved over to Caroline Point and did a bigger public show. And that last year was this big step of, we brought in cars from 4 different states, and Pagani sent a car up from California. A friend sent their F1 car from California. Ford sent out one of their brand new GTDs at that point, out from Detroit.
Amazing.
And then, the caliber was rising locally too. And so we kind of got to a new level last year. And I was a bit more intentional about the cars I was inviting and selecting. And so it was kind of this other stepping stone. And then after that, I was like, oh, we're going all in. And so now for the last 8 months, I've been, if I'm not in class or not hanging out with friends, which is often, but also I'm very selective with that because this takes time and so much work to execute on what I want to execute on, which I'll get into in a second here. But you make a lot of sacrifice to chase your dream. And like I said, if I'm not doing other work, I'm doing this work. And this summer, I'm on a college summer, but I'm working 12 to 16 hours a day on this because it's one of those, like, the to-do list is eternal. There's always a million more things you could do. And the beauty of entrepreneurship is it's up to you to make it happen and no one else. But then there's also a team that comes with it, which has also been a major learning point of mine. And that's where Will comes into play. And last year, Will was very hands-on with our events, but not the planning. And Will, I think, kind of shared the same vision of what this all could become. And so for the past kind of 6 to 8 months, Will has been so much more involved and just boots on the ground, because I'm in LA for part of the year for school. Boots on the ground here, obviously knows a lot of people as well. And then again, just making stuff happen. Like, that's the biggest thing. You just have to get stuff done. Will understands that more than anyone else. And so Will has been integral into this year of just being that guy who's making those last minute connections, whether it's with a transporter, a collector, an owner, and just facilitating it. And then really, getting those little details figured out as well. And I haven't really gotten into like what this all entails and like what I work on for 12 to 16 hours a day. But I don't know, Will, if you want to say anything up until that point of kind of how you've gotten more involved and what you saw with the events and such.
Sure. Well, thank you, Tom. That was some very kind words from you. I appreciate that. What I had seen, and I can tell you from my perspective, coming to, I think your second or third show, right? Was the first one I ever came to?
It's the fifth.
The fifth show. Whoa. Okay. Well, there you go. But Tom, I showed up and I remember talking and I was like, wow, this is great. You have some good stuff. But do you remember, Tom, one of the first things I said to him, I said, well, you have some filler cars. You have some cars here that are really, really crazy. And then you have some stuff here that's just, it's okay. It's cool for a car show, but what are you looking to do? And the evolution that I've seen since then made it where after the show we did last year, if you remember, Tom, I said, how are we going to top that? Because, we had the first and only Ferrari SP3 Daytona that was delivered to Washington.
Oh, wow.
We had the Bruce McLaren Can-Am car. I'm blanking on the exact name here, but there was just some stuff that obviously a lot of intention went into, and only someone can pull off with the connections that, Tom and myself and other folks on our team have made. So, this year when we were thinking about this, I think that the obvious intention for myself and Tom was just, let's give them the best car show that Seattle has ever seen in history. and we're going to do our best to work on that. And so far, I think that if we're still planning and moving today with 20 days to go. But if we stopped working today on getting stuff, I think that we would still have probably the best lineup of cars that any show has shown in Seattle.
Yeah.
Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we've gotten there. One of the biggest things, I think, being that we're going to get together the Ferrari Big Six in Washington, and in one of the few times in the United States that it's been done. And for a couple of guys from the area that are not a dealership or not a big organization, that was quite a task.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, because you mentioned it. You talked about the filler cars. When I was a kid growing up at Christmas, my late Grandma Betty would always give the best Christmas gifts, like a skateboard, like a Santa Cruz skateboard or a boombox. But then she'd have what she'd call filler inners between. It'd be like a coloring book or a Matchbox car, right? So, what were these filler cars like? What
were the filler inners?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is
inners?
As an enthusiast, they're awesome cars. But let me give you context.
Okay.
You would walk into the show and you would see a Ferrari 166 Mille Miglia, right? Which is car number 10 built of all time with the Ferrari factory. Yeah. Tom, am I referring to that car correctly? Yes.
Yeah, the 16mm Barchetta, and it's serial number 0010. So it's the 10th
so like the 10th Ferrari ever built.
Yeah.
And you would go around the show and you have this insane stuff, and then you'd get to a row and this is, please no hate, a bunch of C8 Corvettes and Cadillac V cars. Now, as an enthusiast, I think the C8 Corvette is an amazing car, best bang for the buck you can probably get. And the Cadillac V cars are amazing. Good on them for continuing to make a rear-wheel drive V8 manual sedan, which is amazing. But there was definitely a disjointed idea where, like, I see where Tom wanted to go and I see the connections that he had, but he can only pull so many cars from those people, for maybe they have one person working that collection, right? So he still wanted to have a full parking lot. Right. And that was kind of the filler car. So again, great cars, but for the caliber of what he was trying to do, and I think that I identified that early on, it was one of the first conversations that him and I ever had, and I hope that he appreciates that I was candid.
Well, so smart. That was the roots, though, and that's why that was like where it started, right?
Exactly.
You had those cars like the Carrera GT and the Cadillac V Club, which show up and show out for me, and
at the same club, exactly, and that was the community, which I give a lot of respect for. But as an outsider who just came from New York, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I see he's got one thing here and then he's got one thing here. And I think here in 2026 at this show, I'll make a joke on our filler cars. Tom and I have made this joke. Our filler cars would be headlining other shows.
Yeah. Well, there's something to be said about situational awareness too, if you're a Corvette driver, right? I mean, take a look around. If there's, a car like that Ferrari, maybe it's, time to take your New Balances and go a couple blocks down the road, right?
Yeah, right.
And I love those cars too.
Just for contrast.
Yeah. I know the car behind me, I love it, but it's probably not getting in your show. I accept that, right? But how do you break the news to people? I mean, I suppose now that you've done this for a while, people kind of know what to expect, but how do you let people down gently?
Yeah, it's I used to hate conflict. That has changed last year.
Used to hate conflict. I'm learning all kinds of life lessons from you, young man. Yeah.
But then you learn, again, if you want to actually do stuff, you're going to make people unhappy. And it's never my intention. I never want to make someone unhappy. But when you have a vision, and I have a major issue like with complacency, I always want to be getting better, no matter what it is in my life. And so you have to make decisions. And like we talked about, there's a decision with getting it to a certain caliber that I want, and then also making it a ticket event, which this is the first year it's a ticketed event, which we'll get into in a second. And there's, there was a lot of intention behind that. And it wasn't, oh my God, I'm going to start this, charge $60 a ticket and pocket it all. I'm going to most likely actually lose money on this sucker, even if I sell the show out.
Tom's not getting a Carrera GT, everyone, just so you know. It's just not
yet.
A quick ticket to the Carrera.
Yeah. Well, if the prices don't stop going up, none of us ever will, right?
That's it.
And I don't need to make money off of this, and this is not my intention. I'm also lucky enough that I'm still in college, and I'm still supported by my parents right now, and so my life is not relying on the show, which I feel very lucky to have that. But to answer your question, then get into that ticketing thing, because it's very relevant and one of the biggest things I'm dealing with right now as we speak, is I think to your point, a lot of people understand, they can see what's happening with the event and they understand that it is growing and changing. Now there's the folks that see that and I think don't understand. And like we had some backlash when we kind of announced that we were taking this year that our show was elitist. And I don't really know what to say besides the fact that if you go to 6-year-old Tom's bedroom, which is still right above my head, and it has all those same Hot Wheels, you will see that the cars that were on my shelf since I was a kid are the cars that are at the car show. They're just my passion, just like someone's passion might be JDM or, I mean, you name it. My passion has always been the nicer things, whether it be a classic pre-war car or a Pagani. My license plate on my Volvo S60 is Zonda. My favorite car is a Pagani Zonda.
Yeah.
I've had that since I was 15. That's just my interest. And so that's why the show has always been what it was. It's called Northwest Exotics because the only show I went to at the time of starting it was Exotics at Redmond Town Center. So that was the only name I could have it had in my brain was Exotics somewhere. And my Instagram handle personally at that time was NW Exotics. And so people in middle school would call me Northwest Exotics. And so when I got to high school and then I was starting this, I was like, oh, well, that makes logical sense to name the show that. And now it's just become a thing.
You're like, I already have the name.
Yeah. So anyways, telling people no is hard no matter what it is in life.
Sure.
But it's just, explaining where we're at and that we're growing and that we also have very, very, very limited space. We can show about 65 to 70 cars in that lot. It's very small. And so that's always been a big part of it as well. And then also having themes. I think that's a major thing, where you can work within a cool realm to curate something. And for example, our theme of this upcoming event is car cultures from around the globe. And where that came from, was I had a certain theme in my brain for this year when I was studying abroad in London in the fall from September to December and got to experience car culture there, which, oh my God, is it cool and so different from here. And I go, I've grown up here in this car culture and then I experienced the LA car culture because I go to school full time there. And so I made it to 3 different car cultures and I was like, whoa, they are so vastly different from each other. People, dealerships, businesses, the cars that are produced there, just the overall vibe. And so I was like, that's the theme for this year is celebrating different car cultures and highlighting different parts of those cultures. And so
that's super cool.
Fitting cars into those themes, whatever the theme may be, right, is part of that curation process as well. And I'll get into that in a second of like this year and what we have coming. And kind of the reasons why cars are there, right? It's knowing their history, knowing the history of those cultures and how those cars are significant to those cultures. And so that's part of explaining that to people as well as, hey, we're full already for one. And also we have folks coming in from out of town and it's giving them an opportunity to show their cars here. It's kind of those are a whole mix of reasons. And most people don't, once I explain that, they totally understand it.
You're curating it as a museum would do.
Exactly.
Right. That's the secret, I think, it's intentional. Right. And I think that's something that's missing from a lot of these events, but.
And in life too, like I think you go places with intent. If you know where you're going, it's easier to see an opportunity going in front of you. If you don't know where you're going, that opportunity will just walk right by you and you'll never see it. And so it's being aware and being like, oh, look at that, or that person just said something and they know that person. It's like, oh, interesting. Okay.
I think we should tally up all the life lessons at the end of this episode for the people listening. Because I mean, you started with, you found something you loved, right?
Yeah.
And you ran with it. You didn't take what was tossed your way. You learned to say no, and you went after the things you did want, right? And you mentioned the admission, Lindsay. I've never been to a show like this that charges admission, right? What was the tipping point for you, or the inflection point? And talk a bit, if you would, about, the reaction that you've gotten. I mean, totally. Lindsay, would that scare you off, or would that set
Please
the bar for
too.
you? And
please be honest.
Like what?
We can handle it.
Right. I know you guys are tough. I think it depends on
perceived
how
value
the show
kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's like how it's presented. I think the show has like, it's clearly moved beyond a cars and coffee, and it's not presented that way. And a lot of car shows, the way the show has been presented, especially last year, sort of the level, the caliber of it, I don't think it's that unusual that you need to buy a ticket for that type of event. Obviously, if somebody says like, hey, I'm doing a cars and coffee and I'm charging admission, that's not something any of us have experienced and would take a little bit more, sort of education, if you will, PR, whatever.
For sure.
But no, I think this level of event, you think about like, the Quail has an admission fee, Pebble has an admission fee. I know there's an event.
Yes, they do.
And it's quite steep.
They do.
Quite steep.
Yeah.
$15.95 this year, is it, Lindsay?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Ballpark, give or take.
Yeah.
And I know that's what you guys are building this event to be, is that type of like a destination event. So I think it's the context, like it makes sense in that context.
Yeah. Yeah. And Will, I'll just kind of get this going and you can just speak to it because you're just so attuned to everything that's going on right now. To answer your question, Ryan, I realized last year as I tried to punch into this new level, and we were so lucky to have a few folks send their cars and pay for it. Find out that's not the norm. It's usually on the event organizer to pay for it, especially at this level when you're not Pebble. And Pebble still does pay for cars, but also people want their cars to be a Pebble, et cetera, et cetera. So last year, that was like the first little inkling. And then I had some cheap event insurance. And then literally 5 days before the event, this thing came to fruition with Ford, and they were like, hey, just send us your COI. And so I sent them my certificate of insurance, and they're like, dude, this isn't even close to what we need to send a car. And so this was a crazy story. In 88 minutes, I went from not having an insurance policy or having an insurance policy, using Chat GPT to find a new person. In 88 minutes, I don't know how this happened. This guy who I found online, I connected with him. He got in touch with all the people that he needed to, and I had a policy underwritten from nothing in 88 minutes to meet Ford.
Well, he was using Chat GPT too.
Probably. And I don't know how it happened, but that cost alone was $4,000. And I don't have money. I'm in college. I have a little bit, but that's not even that much. And so
that's a lot of money. Yeah.
My dad was kind enough to cover that last year.
Okay.
Because it was 5 days before the show. Literally, we got that box clicked, and then that GTD got on the truck the next morning. It came out here from Detroit. And so just those little touch points. Exactly. I was like, oh, if I want to do this and grow this to where I want to, we need money, because we live in a capitalistic society, and that's how things actually happen. As I learned, and I didn't really think about that. And before that, and it was all sweet and dandy. And then that changed. And then I realized more and more as I just, with the vision of what I had of what I want this to be, I was like, oh, I like really need money. Like I can't rely on people's goodwill to spend $5,000 to ship one car from California, let alone 10 or something like that. And, and then with the other just little, if someone's going to pay, they're going to need value beyond just the cars. And so it's all these little details to add up so fast, like our owner's breakfast that, we like to treat the owners because they're being very kind and donating their vehicles and time. That's $10,000. A truck from California.
Wow.
That's a few tens of grands. The insurance, $5,000. Security, $5,000. All the event rentals, $10,000. So we're already up like 45. Right now, I don't even want to say the number that the number has gotten to of all of our line items on our budget or our expenses.
I bet.
And like I said, I don't have this money. Will's not going to shell out this money. I'm not going to go to, some big car collector and be like, give me $100,000.
Although you
parents
could, you're very charming.
I guess so.
He could. I mean, he gets cars worth in the, $20-40 million. Well, I think one of the big things, and Tom, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to add this to what you were saying. The show went from a budget of 4 digits to 6 digits very quickly.
Yeah.
And so we realized, there was only going to be one way, as Tom said. And we kind of knew that there would be a little bit of backlash, but, I'm welcome to the opportunity of outside of the Peterson Museum and a few other shows, like you mentioned, like the Quail, which is, a lot more than we're charging. You're probably just not going to see this kind of stuff. And so I think it was just born out of necessity. But that was really for Tom's ambition. We just needed a budget that matched, his vision.
And it's still
Lindsay-
not even close to like the ultimate vision, but it's a big step. It's a big step.
This,
We'll take what we can
something about
Like I said,
charging,
fail upwards, right?
Yeah. Lindsay knows the story. Years ago, I was living in Chicago and we lived in an apartment building next to a bar. It's kind of a biker bar. It was kind of a dive. And I think it was every Monday night to bring people in on a Monday night. They did 10-cent chicken wings, which seems like an incredible bargain in retrospect. But at the time, it was kind of the going rate. This was years ago. And, but it brought in the wrong crowd, right? We had people pissing on our front door of our building, trash left behind, we'd find weird things on the ground, eventually, I guess 10 cents became too little to charge, and they upped the price to 25 cents. And like that, people stopped pissing on our front door. We stopped finding trash. So it's just there's something about upping the admission cost, right? And retaining the right people, I guess. And
I think it
seems counterintuitive, but
yeah. No, I don't. But I think in a way, also it goes back to something Tom said before, is that you're showing intention. So our guests know that if they're paying a little bit of money to see these things, it's because it's meaningful enough to them to want to go do that. The same way if you go to a nice museum or something, even if they don't charge, maybe you donate because you say, hey, it's a pleasure for me to be able to look at this Rembrandt or Monet or whatever it might be. And these cars are no different from that. One of the cover cars for our poster is probably the most famous pre-war car of all time. The Bentley Speed 6 Blue Train.
Wow.
And I think that it's explaining that to my girlfriend and what the quality was or the level of that car. I said, this is the Mona Lisa of cars. It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
And so I think that, for what we're asking, you're not necessarily overcharging, you're supporting the community. You're allowing things like this to happen continually into the future. And I don't know, I agree with what you guys are saying, but sometimes there has to be a little barrier of entry to keep out the riffraff. Right. And to make sure that the people who are coming to appreciate it. Yeah, I'm kind of used to that at my job. Sometimes we got to do that once in a while. So
yeah, and it's also, I wish it could be free, and I wish everyone could come at no cost. But
we tried to make it that way, Tom. Right? We did try
exactly, and if
even this year
done that up until this point, we looked into it this year. Because you can get a good amount of money from sponsors, but not near to the amount we needed. But there's also a side of this, to your point, Ryan, of control.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a major thing that we also almost learned our lesson on last year when there was some kids, again, young enthusiasts. I'm so glad that they're there, but they're on their e-bike in the show. When there's a $40 million 275 Nart Spider Ferrari sitting right there, that's an issue.
Yeah.
That cannot happen. And nothing happened. But there has to be control. And so that's also, and then there's a safety aspect side of it too, for people and the cars. And so that was also just a natural evolution. It's like, okay, if this is where this is going, this has to be more controlled for everyone's sake. And so that was a major part of it too. And for the property too, they don't want an event getting out of hand. And so selling tickets with a limited number because of our literal capacity for that space too. We're allowed to see how many people are coming, but we know how to figure things out way better than, now we're bringing in a Pagani and F1 car. Who knows what could happen? I wasn't even thinking about what could happen. And our show, from our June show last year to that August show with that Pagani and F1 car, our attendance doubled from 500 to over 1,000 people. It's like, okay, we're there now. Time to figure this out. And so there's a million expenses that go into it, all the little details. And then also just like getting the cars that we're getting. And so a really special car that we have coming, that's one of our headline cars with the Bentley Blue Train, is the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR LMH. And so it's one of the Le Mans hypercars that races in IMSA here and in WEC in Europe. There's 2 chassis in North America. And, we have some very kind people who are allowing that car to come up from Arizona for the weekend, literally in between race weekends. That's a car you cannot see unless you were at an IMSA race. And that's also part of this, is like, you were getting value by paying to see these immensely special things you would not see basically anywhere else, especially at a car show. And so we're very lucky to have some very generous people helping us out getting those cars here. But we're there at this new level, and it's just part of it. And I hate to have to charge, but that's where we are. And like I said, my margin is razor thin. And with like one more car getting transported up here from California, it goes overboard and I start to lose money. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So
can I also throw in,
please.
Tom, just while we're talking about the Aston Martin there, that chassis races for the Heart of Racing, which is a basically charitable racing team where they use all their proceeds to go towards cardiovascular research at the Seattle Children's Hospital. Okay. And so we are donating a fairly large portion of the ticket revenue to the Heart of Racing's initiative, I guess you would say. Yeah. With Seattle Children's, which is obviously, really near and dear to both Tom and I as Seattle residents, but also to a lot of our clientele and that our drivers that are showing their cars there. So, it is for a good cause as well. There is a good reason behind that, but a lot of what the owners of the cars have asked is that, hey, I'd like this to be a charitable thing. I'd like there to be a, philanthropic aspect. So that way we're not just parading our, hypercars around over here. There's going to be some good out of this. And so we also wanted to make that part of the show because, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, there just wasn't an aspect of that before, not because I don't think anyone wanted to, there was just no money being collected. So it was kind of just all goodwill of owners. But in bringing it to that level, I think there's going to be a double benefit that, yes, people are going to get to experience these very special things, but it is also going to go to a good cause and bring people together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
If you can enjoy some cars and to do some good at the same time, it's a pretty perfect event.
That's what we're
so
trying
tell
for.
us a little bit about, well, I would say you have hit the nail on the head. Tell us a little bit about sort of, you mentioned like the evening portion of the weekend and just kind of like what that's like for, those who haven't been before.
Yeah. So we, a kind of a different side of this that's emerged last year and we've taken a big step this year is more private events for the show car owners that are showing at the show. Again, making it a destination for people to want to send their cars. And we've gotten access to some very beautiful properties in the area to host these private events at. And I can't really say much just because of privacy and respecting that for a lot of people. But it's become this other side of it that, again, there's like no money in that. We are charging for some of those events, but all those proceeds, 100% of them go
100% of those proceeds go to charity.
To charity. And so this year we're benefiting the LeMay Museum, which is a pillar of our community here. And, they can always, get the help wherever they can of just, helping support their mission of being our place here in Seattle. And then we're doing a drive aspect as part of the weekend as well. And so we're benefiting Josie Rimmer over at Dirtfish.
Sure.
She started the Women in Motorsport Summit.
Yeah.
And that initiative of helping women get into motorsport. Yeah. And we love the Rimmer family, over here at my place. And so we're having the drive fully benefit her fund, and we're taking part in their opening ceremony of the summit because it is the same weekend this year, which we sat down and it was oh, this is perfect, literally, because we're going to have our drive go out to Dirtfish and we're going to flank their stage for their opening ceremony with all these hypercars, and then cruise out after the opening ceremony. And so, a really cool part about this all, especially this year, has been getting to be involved with the pillars of the industry here, whether it be the LeMay, Dirtfish, Griot's Motors. Who else am I? I mean, Will, right?
Who else has written you a check so far?
Literally.
But it's right though. That's why these people want to be involved for that reason, because we all do lean on each other. And not to sound cliche or corny, but the car community is only as good as the people it's made up from. The cars are great, the events are great, the locations are great, but really, at the end of the day, a lot of this hinges on people donating their money, their time, their vehicles, their employees, right? Like, that's what makes it special.
Yeah. What are you guys into personally? Like, what really does it for you? Like for me, it's when I see a D-type, right, on the Grand, right? That's just like, wow, So what is it that just, what are those Matchbox cars? Like, right? You said those are the cars that that you still love. Like what? Yeah. What does it for
me? For me, like I said, Pagani has always been my shit. Excuse my language. As from a young kid, from young age, it was like Pagani. I don't know what it was. So the Zana specifically, like I mentioned, that's my license plate on my Volvo.
That's right.
And that was where my passion really started, was with the more modern things.
Okay.
And then once I started going to Pebble Beach, I was like, oh my God, these old cars have so much character to them, and the stories are incredible. They are true works of art that, blood, sweat, tears went into, whether they raced, they didn't race, they're all hand built, right? And so my passion has slid back in time so fast. And that's, I think, kind of represented. So my other favorite car, my two favorite cars, it's a Zonda and a 1959 Ferrari 250 Testarossa, which is specifically the Fantuzzi body. It's a closed fender car. It's not the pontoon fender car. There's only three of them. And that car is like the embodiment in my mind of what a car should be. And
exquisite taste, Tom.
my lock screen on my phone, and has been for 4 years, and I don't think I'll ever change that. That's like the ultimate dream. And then that's reflected in the show, I think, perfectly with the duality of the Aston Martin Valkyrie race car, which we're also going to have the road car there. So we'll have the road car and the race car back to back.
That's
and then
fantastic.
The duality of the Bentley Blue Train, which, as Will mentioned, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this car. I know pre-war cars are getting more and more less so anyone's thing. They're very much so my thing.
They're going to come back. I'm telling you, because they're just too cool. They're just too
exactly.
Cool.
I hope so. It's a one-off car they built. It's one of the most legendary stories of all time in the pre-war world and I won't go into it, but one of the Bentley boys, Wolf Barnato, famously raced the Blue Train, across France to London, in a Bentley Speed 6. It turned out it was a different Speed 6. Not this famous one, the Gurney Nutting Coupe, which is this one-off.
The Mulliner Saloon, I believe.
Yeah, it was just like this regular Speed 6 at the time. But the car that got famous was the one-off car that didn't actually do it, but it's just this raked roof. It's just stunning. It's this huge car.
And it was from the painting, Tom, correct? Is what actually people thought the Speed 6 was the Bentley car? Because I believe it was the same as painting.
It was just the lore that then came to be, and then there's this painting of the Blue Train Bentley next to
the Blue Train, which I don't think.
Either way, any show goes to it. This is one. It's been the star car, Hampton Court. Obviously Pebble Beach, Amelia, Audrain, like wherever it goes, it's the car. And so having it be let out to Arven and show that duality of, in this example, British engineering of almost 100 years difference.
Yeah.
It's really special. And a big thing I care about is educating the younger generation like myself about these cars like the Blue Train, because it doesn't really get better than the Blue Train. And it's just, it's a sexy car, for so many reasons with its story too. So that was a little more to your answer, but like to tie that in of the vision is the show too, is the duality and having it all to help tell that story and fuel that passion for folks like myself.
Those old Bentleys, those 90-year-old cars are incredibly tractable on modern roads too. We had 5 couples from Ireland join us on the Gram last year. They decided it's cheaper to just, bring the cars into LA than drive them all the way to Colorado and then drive 1,000 miles on the Gram. These are all 1930s Bentleys, right?
Yeah.
In total, they probably put 4,000 miles on these things in 2 weeks. How many cars from the 30s can you do that in? They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
They're fast. They're everything you want a car to be like that, a vintage car. But what about you, Will?
I have different flavors of the month. My growing up, I was really big into like vintage BMWs and Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
That's still kind of, what I own. That's what I'm into. My dreams go far beyond my tax bracket. But I love vintage Ferraris, like, Colombo V12 era cars. 250 GT Lusso is probably my favorite from that era. As much as I hate to admit it, I do really like air-cooled Porsches. I know that's kind of cliche at this point, but with working around them so much, lucky enough to be able to drive a Singer and to be around it a lot, really kind of made me understand why people are into that stuff.
Yeah.
And I also have a real soft side for custom cars. That was my beginning. That was what I started doing and did up until 2020. And so, I love it all. Like, Lindsay, I know like your vintage Bronco. I think the Resto Mod stuff that is really cool. I'm big into 4x4ing myself, so I like that aspect. I like the JDM stuff. I like lowriders. Anything that someone has a lot of time and passion and undoubtedly money into, I respect, because I know that person really, really loves the car. And for me, one of the coolest things is seeing like a car on the road that you're like, wow, someone really kept that 2001 Oldsmobile Aero in great condition. And it's just like an interesting story, right? Because this is not a car that should have been saved, but there it is. And it's really cool.
Did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool. So then when you see that, when you go up to somebody and they're like, yeah, I have my, Shelby GT350 or my Olds 442 or, something like that. And there's been love and years of time. And maybe it's a a car that was passed down. That's the stuff I love. And I know, again, it sounds cliche, but the stories behind cars are really what really gets it for me. So it doesn't matter if it's a $50 million car or if it's a guy who really just loves his Oldsmobile Alero. Those are all cool to me. So that's really what does it.
Yeah.
I love that. I know. Well, I mean, that's how we all ended up here, right? Is we all are interested in the people, like you said, and the stories. And we're all connected through the internet, and now we know each other in person, and you end up with this amazing partnership in Tom and Will and this wonderful event. And all because we like cars and driving, right?
Yeah.
It's the thing that really sticks out to me, and I think it's everyone says, and it's kind of become a cliche thing to say, it's not the cars, it's the people. And that's absolutely it.
Yeah.
Something I've realized that's a step beyond that. And that this was really put into my brain after I went to London. I go to a new city where I know no one, and it's on the other side of the world. And within 2 weeks, I had like good friends already, because I met some guys at the Hampton Court Concours, and within 5 minutes, we were somehow talking about the one-off Ferrari this collector in Reno, Nevada has. That it's a PF Cab Series 1 250 Ferrari, and the first owner got a little cutout in this door for his elbow to rest in. So instead of resting on it, it rested just in this little cutout.
I love that.
And it's a one-off because, that stuff, and we both knew about that car, which I've never talked to anyone else who knows about that car.
That's amazing.
And the point I make here is, I'm in college right now, and I'm in, a mass of a lot of people, thousands of people. And I'm very extroverted, so I love being around people. I love getting to know new people. We in the car community are so lucky to have this community, because we have a community like no one else. That's where I see the step beyond. It's just not the cars, it's the people. We are blessed to have this. And then you can go across the globe and make a friend like that because of this shared interest. And sure, there's shared interest like sports and different things that you can go anywhere in the world and bond over. I've never seen anything like this with anyone that I know. And my friend said this recently, and I've been saying it. I think the car hobby is the greatest hobby on earth, because if you know of how special it is and how you can bond with people anywhere on the globe. And it's really damn special. It's really cool. It feels like you're living life.
I agree.
Yeah. I wanted to throw in a little bit of trivia. So I wake up one morning, Tom got so ingrained in the UK car scene that I wake up to a photo of Tom and Gordon Murray at the Joe Macari holiday party. And the caption said, "You know who this is?" And Gordon Ramsay took the photo, or is behind the camera or something like that. And I'm like,
no way.
Tom, where do you go from here?
At this place, but Tom, we should definitely display that at the show somewhere. You and Gordon Murray at that nightclub or whatever. That's very
And then with like a little photo credit, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
was it Gordon Ramsay took the photo, or did I mess up that part of the story?
Very quickly, because I know we're wrapping up here. But
no,
you just meet people and something happens and another thing happens. I met a guy at Hampton Court as well, my first week in September in London, and we bonded, and he was like, "Oh, mate, like you got to come to Uncle Joe's Christmas party." And this was in September, and that was the second week of summer.
Gotta love it.
So I saw him at a few more events throughout the semester, and then he was like, sure enough, he was like, "You're my guest to the party," and so it's like my third to last day in London, and I walked into Joe Macari and had been all done up, and I look to my right, and the first people I see are Gordon Murray talking to Gordon Ramsay. I was like, okay, that's how this evening is. And so I go and meet the guy that I was meeting, and he was talking to John McGinnis's family, the legendary Isle of Man TT motorcycle driver. And they were lovely, and so we're talking. They're like, "Oh, Dad's talking to the Gordons," and so we all go over there, and Gordon Ramsay was like, "Hey, I'm Gordon," and I was like, "I know," and then. But I was much more interested in
pretend.
Yeah, exactly. But he was a gentleman. He was lovely.
Yeah,
and Gordon Murray was standing right there, and I was a bit more interested in talking about the car, Gordon. And so him and I chatted for probably 15 minutes, and we're all just people at the end of the day, and it's a beautiful thing. And he's such a true car guy, right? He just loved talking about his creations and different things, and the T50 and how that plays into all those different things. And pinch me. What the hell? How is that happening? I don't know. And so again, a lot of really special moments that I get to experience through this world. And it's damn cool.
That enthusiasm is currency.
That is
It really is.
I was going to say that is something that's a like theme in my family is we'll look at each other and go like, how did we get here? Like all these amazing moments and experiences that we've gotten to have. And we look at each other and we're like, we're not supposed to be here, but like, don't, just go with it. And you get to have these incredible experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the secret, I think, right? You go to Car Week and you think you're the only one thinking that, right? And you know, at least half the people in the room are probably thinking the same thing. And I love, that, Gordon Murray or Gordon Ramsay, they don't need anything from you as wonderful as you are, Tom. I mean, but the fact that, that they did that. I'm always just shocked at the generosity, right? The willingness to sit and share because they pick up on your enthusiasm and, you can't fake it. Right. And thank God for cars, for those of us who weren't natural born athletes or whatever. I mean, this was like our, I don't know about you guys, but this was my guy thing, right? This was the thing that I could, hang my hat on right at parties and that kind of thing. And of course now it's gotten to the point, Lindsay, we've talked about this. It's like, if we go to a party and, they don't pass the car test, you move on to the next, whatever. It's
just,
I'm
always
done with you. So,
you're like, love that journey for you. This has been delightful. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I think what's funny too is how often, like, there'll be times where, believe it or not, I am not trying to bring up cars, and it still comes up anyway. And I'm like, I mean, at a certain point, you can't fight it because you're like, the cars just find you, or like other people will bring it up. And then you're like, ooh, so sorry for them because now I'm going to be, super animated. I'm so excited to talk about it. But I mean, it really is like just such an amazing community to be part of. Like you said, Tom.
Really
I was just going to say the touch points that non-car people have too. If their dad owned a Mustang or something, and it's like that little thing, that point of connection, which opens up. I'm the guy who will probably talk to you if you want to talk on an airplane. And so, but so many conversations, and it always starts with cars in some fashion. That I've talked to people the entirety of a flight to LA and back, or New York and back, that starts with cars and then goes across the journey of life. Right? They're such an integral part to everyone's life. And some people have those just slight touch points. Or how a Pagani, the company, ended up sitting in a car to the show. I will not bore us with that story. But it came from one of my advisors at school. I was wearing a Pagani shirt one day. She was like, oh, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows the CEO of Pagani America.
Wow.
Then through this chain of things that happened, he was sending a car to the show. And it was like, don't know how that's happening, but oh my God. So again, it's like, even the non-car
picked
people
up a different shirt.
Exactly. And so it all plays into itself. And again, I think it's because they're such an integral part of our world. It's how we get around. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Both of you guys, there aren't too many people that really find, their place in life, right? Like end up doing the thing that was designed just for them. And I feel like both of you have found that. So hope you both realize how fortunate you are. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think so. I mean, I thank God every day. I'm not a religious person, but I'm just like, you know what? This kind of just worked out. And I don't know what else I'd be doing. And I guess that's kind of when you realize that you found your calling in certain ways, right? But like Tom said, they're great. And or like you said, Lindsay, cars are magnetic. I mean, figuratively and literally. But people definitely like to discuss them. It brings people together. And, I'm sure we've all talked to people that you're like, wow, it's so-and-so, this big, famous, rich, powerful person. And you sit down and talk with them and they just want to tell you about their car, right? They just want to ask you about your car. And it's just, they're just a guy or a woman.
Yeah.
And, once you start to realize that and you realize that these things are just hunks of, metal and glass and rubber and plastic that we love so much, but it goes far beyond that. It's not just a physical item anymore. It's a state of mind. It's an expression of yourself. Yeah. It's a lifestyle. It's all these things. And, if we can choose to embody that in, our show and beyond, I think that we're doing a good thing.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so excited for both of you with what you've built, what you've done so far, and what you're going to accomplish in a few weeks. So tell people if they want to learn more about the show or if they want to join you, where can they find information about the event? And then where can they find the two of you online?
Yeah. So, and then this is something I guess I was going to speak a little more on, but didn't, of like kind of the whole breadth of everything we have coming.
Well, you got to come back.
Yes. So as Will mentioned, we have these kind of curated displays that fit these different car cultures out of my brain. So it's my interpretation, and with what I could get. And so As Will mentioned, as part of one of the displays, we're assembling the Ferrari Big Six, which to our knowledge has only been done twice in the country as of yet. So we're going to have one of the newest F80s delivered all the way down to the 288 GTO. So 6 of Ferrari's best hypercars. Like I mentioned, we're going to have the Bentley Blue Train. We're going to have the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR LMH, which is the second time to my knowledge it's ever been to a show in its life, as well as a road car Valkyrie, which those both Valkyrie's never been shown, let alone 2 in Seattle. We'll have an Aston Martin Valhalla, the first one that was delivered here. We'll have the Holy Trinity assembled technically we also have a P1 and a 919 coming. We might have a few McLaren Sennas. We'll have a Gordon Murray T50. We have 2 Koenigsegg's coming up from California. We have a Pagani coming up. Ford sending out a really special concept from Detroit, and a lot more. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be worth the money, I think, and hopefully my time that I worked my freaking ass off for. And so you can find all this information on the show and tickets at just northwestexotics.com. Ticket links in there. On Instagram, I couldn't get the Northwest Exotics username, so it's NW Exotics Car Show. And then that's where you can probably just find me, is through the email on there. And Will, I'll let you speak for yourself. But yeah, the show's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Caroline Point on August 23rd, 2026.
Be there.
There you go.
Be there.
And
Yes.
I'm not a huge social media guy, but as Lindsay and Ryan mentioned, I work for One Drivers Club, which is a 4-location multi-unit national company, and we store cars. And so again, give us a look, onedriversclub.com, and if you need me, you can find my email on there.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for being here. We look forward to having you come back and share how this year's event goes. And for our audience, thank you so much for liking, rating, reviewing, and of course, leaving 5-star reviews. We are so appreciative of everybody being here. Remember, always be driving. We're That Car Show, and we'll see you next week.